Well, thanks to my pro bro for that great introduction. I really appreciate that. I've never been introduced quite that way, but you know, a first time for everything. And as Phil said, I'll be talking about the background, history, and strategic initiatives associated with PRO. So let me dive right in. We'll take you back a few years here. First of all, the outline. I'll talk about construction industry productivity in general and some of the trends that we've been seeing here over the last 50, 60 years actually, which are not all great. Give you a sense of the PRO background and then talk about the vision and mission of PRO, give you an overview of what we're currently doing, and then most importantly talk just briefly about the strategic initiatives, which you'll hear a lot more detail about from the speakers that follow me. So, stepping back to 2017, the McKinsey Global Institute did a deep dive into the construction industry. They went to 41 countries around the world. They compiled all sorts of data about trends and what's happening essentially in the world of construction. And when I talk about construction, McKinsey defined it as everything associated with the built environment. So it's design, it's material supply, material fabrication, and job site work. So when I refer to construction, it's not just contractors, it's all of us. We're all part of the construction industry. And to the extent that we have problems to solve, it's on the shoulders of all of us to work together to solve them. So some of the key data that was compiled by McKinsey, if you look at the graph on the left, first of all, the orange line that is trending up is construction prices, finished construction prices, so the price of a completed building. And you see that charted out over about 70 years. So going back to 1950. So construction prices were tracking with the CPI until the 1970s. And then they began to diverge. Now the gray line, which is, let me get my colors here straight again. The gray line is the construction intermediates price index. So that represents raw materials. So raw materials, as you can see, are tracking with the CPI all the way out to pretty much today. So the raw materials are not the problem. It's getting the raw materials that we use in building buildings into a completed state where we're seeing some trouble, because you can see prices trending up. Now, if you go to the graph on the right side, it tracks productivity trends. And what's interesting is at about the same point in time that construction prices began to go up, productivity was going down. So in the 1970s and 1980s, the price of construction began to steadily climb up above the CPI, and productivity, which is the orange line on the graph on the right, began to trend down. So it makes total sense. If productivity drops, prices go up. One of the comments that McKinsey made, this is a really long report and it's available on the internet, so you can find it and read it at bedtime to put you to sleep. If you have trouble sleeping, get this report. You'll have no problem at all. There's a lot of data in here, but it's really good data. If you're part of this industry, it's important that people understand this. And one of the comments they made, which I've highlighted there in orange, even while other sectors from retail to manufacturing have transformed their efficiency, boosted their productivity, and embraced the digital age, construction appears to be stuck in a time warp. Now, that's pretty caustic writing, pretty damning, maybe a little too damning. I don't think it's quite that bad. I don't think we're stuck in a time warp, because a lot of great things are happening in construction. We all know that. There's been huge advancements with the way we design buildings and using robotics out in the field, and all sorts of great things are happening. But if you aggregate the data and look at the total aggregate of data that comes out of our industry, that's where we're having some trouble. Fast forwarding to last year, some of you might read Construction Dive, which is a news feed that is read mostly by contractors, but some design offices read it as well. This was the headline in one of their weekly news feeds last year. I don't have the, oh yeah, I do have the date. That was October 12th, 2023. So just about a year ago. Construction lost as much as $40 billion on poor productivity in 2022. Let's fast forward to just a couple of months ago. So this again came from McKinsey. This is an update on the report they did 7 or 8 years ago, and the title was "Delivering on Construction Productivity is No Longer Optional." And the essence of what they said was this is becoming a really critical issue for our economy. because we're not moving forward in the world of construction like we are in other industries. And if you look at, I think, the most enlightening graph in that story, global construction productivity, you see a bunch of lines there. This goes from the year 2000 out to the year 2022. The line that is the steepest is Asia, China. The bottom line is the U.S. So U.S. productivity is at the bottom of the pile. If you look at the average, which is the black line, then globally we're making some progress. So construction productivity globally, which is the black line, is making slow but steady progress. But in the U.S., based on what McKinsey is showing, we're going backwards. Now, I've spoken with lots of people about this topic over the last number of years, and there are plenty of people who would say, I disagree with some of the data McKinsey uses, I disagree with their conclusions. I get that. And we can parse the numbers and come up with different answers. But the bottom line is we're not moving forward as fast as we could. We could do better if we work together and collaborate more between design and construction, which is a lot of what PRO is focused on. Just better collaboration between people designing buildings like myself and the people who are building the buildings like some of you in the audience. That's a huge piece of the answer. So what did ACI do about this? Well, ACI, about 4 years ago, when I was vice president before my presidential year, we formed a task group in response to the bad news that was coming out of the industry relative to productivity. And I was very passionate about this because in my own practice as a structural engineer, I've observed just far too many projects where, for whatever reason, confrontations develop between the design team and the construction team. There's an unwillingness to talk because everybody's concerned about litigation, and you start projects sometimes with the belief that, well, we're going to get into a fight sooner or later, we may as well start today. We know we're going to be fighting by the end of the job, so let's go ahead and get the fight started. Some jobs actually work that way. Not all, but some do. And the jobs that are really successful are where the design team and the construction team build some trust, and maybe they've worked together in the past, they have a good working relationship, they value the input from each other. So as a designer, I want to know what the people building the building think about what we do. Show me the details you like, show me the details you don't. Because there are a lot of ways to skin a cat, and oftentimes we can modify things in a much more efficient way. So we formed a task group and we studied this problem. What we came up with was the notion of PRO, which is an independent center of excellence. So it's separate and distinct from ACI, but it's under the ACI umbrella. So we have all the benefit of ACI's vast resources, and yet we aren't encumbered by the ACI bylaws. ACI of necessity moves slowly. It's a huge organization, and it takes time to develop codes and standards. That's just the nature of ACI. PRO has its own mission, vision, bylaws. We have Phil as our executive director, and we're nimble. We're nimble and quick, and we're very focused on one topic, and that's construction productivity. So PRO is separate from ACI, but we benefit from the ACI resources, just like the other two centers of excellence, NEX and NEW. We were the third of three. And as I just said, we're a separate organization. We're a 501c3 subsidiary. We're focused on a specific industry target. We can make more rapid progress because of that. And our members are going to be basically anybody with an interest in this topic, corporations, nonprofits, anybody who's really passionate about what PRO is doing is welcome to be part of our group. And we essentially buy IT, accounting, marketing, and other services from ACI. So to the extent that we publish documents and things, which we're in the process of doing, we can purchase those services from ACI. It's a beautiful relationship. The PRO vision, we envision a concrete industry where the productivity potential, the full potential of materials and systems is realized. That's the goal. Too often you have these wonderfully well-engineered forming systems, for example. There are a lot of examples, but a lot of really well-engineered forming systems for which the productivity potential is never realized because of idiosyncrasies in the design that don't allow the full value of those forming systems to be used. It's so common. In a parking structure, for example, if you're designing a so-called Cunningham beam parking structure, there are certain things you need to do and need to understand to maximize the production of that system. There are steel beam forms, the slab forms hang off the beams, and you have to understand how that system works before you lay out the structure. Otherwise, you can really screw it up. And, you know, we get a fair amount of work in my office by redesigning other offices. Not that we seek it out, but it just comes to us. So that's just one example of many. But our vision is we want to realize the full potential, productivity potential of our industry. Our mission essentially is collaboration. We want designers, material suppliers, builders, other stakeholders collaborating, sharing information willingly and in a trusting environment so that all of the things that the builders out here learn get moved into design offices and vice versa. I think too often designers take the approach that, well, I'm going to design it, it's going to go out the door, and then everything that comes up is a means and methods problem. You figure it out. Because I'm done, my fee's up, I'm dry. It's all means and methods, you guys figure it out. Well, then the RFIs start to flow, and you know, all the head knocking, and so that's our mission and vision. Proactivities, I won't read through all of these, they're on our website, but essentially we're doing all sorts of things to benefit the industry. You'll hear a lot more about that today as we discuss strategic initiatives. And at this point, I want to show you a short video, a very short video, about 2 minutes.
Construction, but one whose productivity growth has lacked other industry sectors. Improving construction productivity through concrete design is the key to.
If we don't have sound, I don't have to show this.
And a focused industry-wide collaborative.
Not sure how we were supposed to have sound.
Solve the barriers of construction.
Because
concrete construction productivity. The American Concrete Institute has launched a center of excellence to advance structural design to optimize labor and time against materials. With a single focus to quickly stimulate industry change, PRO, an ACI Center of Excellence for Advancing Productivity, will serve as the industry's central hub for contractors, designers, and material suppliers to advance design, new technologies, and processes that improve concrete construction productivity beyond historic levels. As recent studies have indicated, construction productivity falls behind other sectors, and the time to act is now. Through a collaborative approach, PRO will identify and resolve issues that negatively impact productivity in concrete construction. The center aims to empower engineers and constructors to implement design and construction methodologies that will lead to increased value of structural concrete. PRO and its members will target core functions, including designer and contractor collaboration, industry outreach, interaction with ACI technical committees on constructability, and more. Those who are industry leaders desiring to advance concrete design are invited to be involved, including contractors facing complex obstacles, structural designers, construction companies and project owners, ready-mixed concrete and reinforcing producers, manufacturers of concrete products, and innovative individuals that share PRO's vision. The American Concrete Institute has also launched a new concrete constructability certificate program that is a valuable educational first step for structural engineers toward improving constructability and productivity in the industry. What's next? PRO wants to hear from those facing construction productivity obstacles and frustrations to help guide the center's efforts. As PRO works to make the industry more productive, efficient, and constructible, a collaborative effort is necessary. Visit concreteproductivity.org to learn more and get involved today.
Okay. Now we get into PRO strategic initiatives, and I'm not going to read through all of these. You'll hear a lot about this with the speakers that follow. But essentially we have 6 strategic initiatives The one we've been focusing on first is constructability. We came out with a constructability blueprint. We have another updated version coming out this week. So that's our first deliverable to the industry, and then we have a lot of things to follow that are very, very exciting and we think are going to move the needle. And with that, thank you very much for being here, and I'll let Phil introduce our next speaker.